In your life, there are individuals who cannot be trusted, not because they openly display their true nature, but because they conceal their harmful intentions behind a facade of charm, helpfulness, and subtle manipulation. Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist, dedicated his life to understanding the human mind, including the aspects that people hide. He emphasized that the most dangerous individuals are not those who are overtly aggressive, but rather those who blend in, pretending to care, while secretly dismantling others from within. These individuals don't always resort to loud outbursts or abuse. Sometimes they even smile, which is what makes them so dangerous. Their behavior is subtle, making it easy to miss the signs. Jung's life's work focused on understanding not just the persona, but also the shadow, as people often show others what they think will work, rather than their true selves. If you're not aware of this, you may end up giving your time, energy, trust, and even love to someone who is not safe to be around. Jung identified 6 patterns, 6 psychological masks, and 6 personality types that may seem harmless at first, but can quietly destroy you if you're not aware. The first type is the chronic victim, someone who never takes responsibility for their actions. Everything that happens to them is someone else's fault, and they always play the role of the sufferer. On the surface, you may feel sorry for them and want to help, but Jung saw that people who live in permanent victimhood often hide deep-seated manipulation. They use their pain as a weapon, guilt-tripping others and twisting reality to gain sympathy and control. The second type is the charming mirror, someone who reflects back to you exactly what you want to see. They're agreeable, supportive, and validating, but they're not showing you their true self. They're mirroring you to gain trust, and when you notice something strange, it's often too late. The charming mirror is dangerous because they seem safe, but behind the mask there's nothing, no substance, no stability, and no consistent values. They're loyal only to your approval, and when you stop admiring them, they may vanish or turn against you. The third type is the passive-aggressive enabler, someone who doesn't openly criticize or fight, but instead suggests, hints, and undermines. They may say something like, "That's ambitious, but I don't want you to be disappointed," or, "You're so brave for trying that, but I don't think I'd ever risk failing like that." This sounds supportive, but it's actually a subtle way of eroding your confidence. Jung described this dynamic as the hidden shadow of the helper, where people pretend to empower you while quietly making sure you never outgrow them. The fourth type is the secret competitor, someone who isn't competing with the world, but with you. They pretend to be your friend, applaud your success, and act like they're happy for you, but every time something good happens for you, they find a way to make it about them. They minimize your achievements, redirect the attention, and tell their own story, often making it seem slightly better or more impressive. Jung believed that this type is driven by unconscious inferiority, where they resent what you reflect back at them, their own inadequacy. The fifth type is the spiritual narcissist, someone who presents themselves as enlightened, mature, and emotionally advanced. They speak softly, quote philosophy, and reference healing, alignment, and mindfulness. However, they're deeply attached to being seen as superior, and their calm demeanor is actually a power play. They use emotional language to invalidate your reality, making you feel emotional, unhealed, or spiritually inferior. They don't want equals. They want students, and they don't want healing. They want authority. The sixth type is the empathic controller, someone who feels everything, senses energy, and picks up on moods, body language, and tension. They cry easily, comfort you often, and make you feel deeply seen. However, over time, their behavior becomes control through sensitivity. You start adjusting your behavior to avoid disturbing them, suppressing your reactions to avoid hurting them, and hesitating to express frustration because they'll say that your energy affects them. Jung warned that many people who claim to be highly sensitive are actually projecting unhealed chaos outward and demanding that the world organize itself around their wounds. These 6 types are not rare. They're everywhere, and they thrive in spaces where people don't know how to defend their energy. Jung believed that the only protection is self-awareness, spotting the mask, seeing through the kindness, hearing what's not being said, and walking away before you need proof. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. To stop attracting these people, You need to understand why your shadow makes you tolerate them and how to permanently become someone they can't manipulate, use, or break. You attract what you haven't integrated, so if you're always attracting manipulators, there's a part of you that's still afraid to stand in your own truth. If you're always surrounded by victims, there's a part of you that needs to be needed to feel valuable. If you're constantly betrayed by charming people, you're still worshiping external approval more than internal clarity. Jung taught that the shadow is everything you've repressed. The parts of you that you were told were too much, too selfish, or too intense. You buried them, became nice, helpful, and agreeable. But in doing so, you lost your edge, instincts, and barrier to harm. To move forward, you need to audit your circle, asking yourself who drains you, who confuses you, and who you're constantly explaining yourself to. If someone constantly needs context to treat you right, they're not confused. They're avoiding accountability. Let them go silently without guilt. Jung believed that withdrawal is one of the strongest acts of consciousness, not because you hate them, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Let your shadow speak, stop trying to be perfect, and allow yourself to say no, get angry, and question people's intentions. Your shadow isn't evil. It's protective, remembering who you are when you're being emotionally gaslit into forgetting. Stop explaining yourself to others, as the people who deserve your energy won't need you to justify your boundaries. They'll feel them, respect them, and match you with their own clarity. Trust what you felt the first time and start listening to your subconscious, which reads patterns before your mind catches up. The final word is that Carl Jung didn't want you to fear the world. He wanted you to stop fearing your own knowing. The more shadow you integrate, the fewer toxic people get close. Not because you're hiding, but because your energy no longer gives them entry. You stop explaining, fixing, and justifying your standards, and without raising your voice, you become someone no manipulator can reach, no narcissist can fool, and no competitor can rattle. You become the person Jung wanted you to be, awake, whole, and impossible to trick.